The Pixel 5 is not worth its price. Easily the Pixel 6 is a better deal, with the Pixel 7 being the best deal. But of those three phones, the Pixel 5 would be the only one that you can pick out of a lineup for being different. That's because the Google Pixel 5 is way more than just a spec sheet. No intro today, let's just dive in. It is true, the Pixel 5 defies its own spec sheet, making it sound worse than it truly is. I use phones and generally get excited to move on when they aren't that fast. However, this one didn't really shove me into that. I used phones like the Z Fold 3, Zenfone 9, and LG V60 all before moving to the Pixel 5, which at launch was criticized for essentially being a mid-range phone with a flagship pricing, actually matching the Pixel 8's current price of $700 US. Snapdragon 765G chip, under 20 megapixel cameras including the 8 megapixel fixed focus front camera, a plastic feeling back, single storage option at 128 gigabytes of UFS 2.1 storage, not UFS 3.0 or higher, and a small screen. There are so many aspects of this phone that make you not consider this phone, but the way it handles everything is what redeems this phone. Optimization is key and something that Google is known for when it comes to the Pixel hardware. This processor is a mid-range 5G chip from almost 5 years ago and gets beat bad by the Pixel 4 Snapdragon 855 chip that it replaced. But somehow it works. Both phones feature 90Hz display, but somehow the Pixel 5 feels smoother. This phone got Android 14, but will no longer be updated. It's stuck at the November 2023 security patch, and that's actually fine for now, and was an extra month of a security patch over what Google promised. But if you bought the Google Store version, you can actually unlock the bootloader and continue on when Android 15 comes out, and probably 16, and so on. When moving through the operating system and using apps, there's not really any issues. Sure, gaming is not what this chip is known for, but even heavy games still hold up pretty decently. Some background tasks might take a little bit longer to complete, but on the outside, all you really see is a phone that just works when you tell it to. Even camera processing is reasonable, generally happening instantly. And you do get other Pixel benefits like call screening and even Magic Eraser. Okay, Magic Eraser is a Google One thing, but still. This was the last phone that allowed for unlimited storage saver photos, which confuses me because it says that it's going to compress stuff that's under 16 megapixels, but the main camera is 12.2 megapixels. Either way, some people think that this is worth paying for itself, though the Pixel 1 is the only phone with unlimited space at any quality. But speaking of cameras, again, we get the 12.2 megapixel camera that was found on the Pixel 4, but it still looks amazing thanks to what Google does with their software. Video capabilities go up to 4K at 60 frames per second, but generally don't yield movie quality results. It's usable, but at least it's not the variable frame rates that were on the Pixel 3 and Pixel 4. Also, notice this app is the same as what the Pixel 8 series gets, minus some 8 series only features obviously, but still looks up to date. The ultra-wide camera is a 16 megapixel fixed focus sensor, which is cool, but not as cool as the telephoto sensor that the Pixel 4 had. It's like they traded those sensors just like how they traded Face Unlock for the fingerprint scanner. Then of course you get the 8 megapixel front camera that does 1080p at 30 frames per second and is fixed focus. Boring to me, but the software is what makes the portrait shots pop and shots in general look amazing. It's funny because this is like my Blackmagic camera where the Pixel is known for stills and terrible for video, while the Cinema camera is known for video and terrible for stills. No laser autofocus here, another thing that has been gone for a couple of years and then came back with the Pixel 6. That said, this thing focuses perfectly, just on the only camera that focuses, of course. What is slightly optimized though is the battery. It's a 4080 milliamp cell, but it does okay. Maybe it could be the 5G support causing issues, but I actually don't really see much of a jump in battery life over the 2800 milliamp cell that's found in the Pixel 4. Still, full day battery life is easy, even at this 4-year-old age. 18 watts of wired charging, just like every other Pixel before it, with wireless and reverse wireless charging, something that is strange given the back is metal. The joke about that is that the back is truly metal, just like the Pixel 6 is metal backed, or pretty much any modern iPhone, which is also saying that it's not metal backed. In reality, it's just a resin that's on top of the metal, which has a hole in the middle for the wireless charging. So the back feels like a resin, similar to plastic, but not the same. Regardless, advertised as metal, but it isn't. This does help it be IP68 dust and water resistant, though I truly doubt that it is anymore. What is interesting though is the weight. It is a small phone, arguably the smallest Pixel with the Pixel 4a, but also pretty light at 151 grams. But for sure, the best smallest Pixel that you can buy, spec-wise. With all this said, this phone is not perfect. Like I said, this phone is getting old. There's no zooming for the cameras, software and security patch support is officially done. For some reason, the Sorta Sage color is more expensive, in the used market at least. Only comes in one storage size, which is technically slow, but still fast enough for most people. Then of course, the processor overall. But all this ends up being fine. The screen is an acquired taste, being a 6-inch flexible 1080p OLED that of course has a 90Hz refresh rate. The camera hole punch honestly wasn't noticeable in my daily usage, and videos look nice on the screen, though it does get normal bright, not super bright. Gorilla Glass on here, but throw a screen protector on because it's definitely not scratch proof, and the screens cost almost as much as the phone, if not more. Sure, the processor and storage might not be your cup of tea, but 8GB of RAM on this phone is more than enough for anything you throw at it, and way better than the 4 and 6GB Pixels that came before this one. While charging isn't fast by today's standards, it's fast enough for 1% a minute on 18 watts or higher chargers. What's nice and common for Pixel phones is the USB-C 3.1 port, allowing for decent transfer speeds when you do fill up that 128GB storage and want to connect to your computer. But that color, the black is okay and still looks kind of cool with a slight sparkle, but that Sorta Sage is my favorite, looking like a greenish salt color. I always wanted this color and can finally afford it, even though I did spend way too much on it because I wanted the color, unlocked, and in good condition. But these start in the low hundreds, which is fair for what you're given. What isn't fair though is the speaker. While the bottom one is okay, the hidden earpiece is definitely terrible. And it's a large earpiece, but it's behind the screen using the glass to vibrate noise into your ears either directly in a phone call or through media. Regardless, the top earpiece ruins the stereo feel and is unbearable during phone calls. I don't remember it being this bad with the LG G8 being the worst, but somehow this one is just terrible. 1000% recommend using headphones whether it's wired or not. Really anything to get decent sound out of this phone. Ultimately, why would anyone want this phone? It's outdated with old specs and styling, some that even budget phones lack. Every company has spoke and believes that the front camera needs to be in the middle, fingerprint needs to be under the screen or on the side, and small phones overall are out. But of all the reasons why you wouldn't buy this phone, there's a lot of solutions to those problems. For one, the speaker is miserable, but not only are wireless buds abundant, they're actually very affordable nowadays. And battery life worries for the wireless ones, you can actually charge it with this phone. Gaming isn't the best on here, but it's not supposed to be. It's a small phone that can play games, not one that's meant for it. Honestly, those are really the issues that I can find, and most of the issues that come with this phone aren't dramatically fixed with the Pixel 6 if you really think about it. This is not a phone for saving money, something I learned and should have known in the beginning. It's for those that want a small phone and don't want to give up everything that you do when you get the Pixel 4a. It's honestly kind of crazy to see it's not even a year newer than the Pixel 4a, but it's such a better phone, all for around the same price, in the used market at least. This follows most Pixel devices being somewhat overpriced when new, but nicely priced as used. But again, you need to want this phone. You want the fingerprint scanner, you want the size. For some reason, you want unlimited compressed Google photo storage. You need to want the spec page, but also not get caught up on some of the numbers that are on there. For a cheap Pixel, the 5 seems like a good baseline. The 4a 5G ironically feels like a 4a, even though lots of specs match the 5. The Pixel 5a is known for being a time bomb, so don't even consider that phone. When looking at the raw specs, the Pixel 5 is definitely not for everyone, and for less than double the price you can actually get a Pixel 7, something I would highly recommend if you're not sold on the idea of the Pixel 5. But for some reason, I still love this phone. Maybe it's nostalgia reasons bringing me back to when I had the black one, or maybe it's just a good phone. I like the way Google is going with the current Pixels, but I don't feel like this phone gets enough praise, minus the speaker issue. And that's all I gotta say about the Pixel 5. What do you think about the last traditional Pixel design? Let me know, and as always, thanks for watching.